Hey, what up? Stampa Brad back at you with law number 29 of the 48 Laws of Power. Law number 29 is plan all the way to the end. And this law is one that everybody knows that you should do this, but it's very, very useful to have some sort of reminder in place to plan things to the end. So the author actually at the end of the chapter gives a little line that I think really sums this up well and is a very poignant way to express this law and why it's important. And it is, unhappy endings are very common and happy endings are very few. And what that means is it's actually extremely more common for something to not go as planned, kind of Murphy's Law comes into effect, than it is for something to go perfectly smoothly and everything works out and you have to get a couple lucky breaks for things to go well and it just happens. That does not happen in my experience. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. So you have to plan for those things and you have to have contingencies in place. A book that really relates to this really well is Grant Cardone's 10X rule. And in the 10X rule, Grant goes through the fact that everything takes 10 times longer and 10 times more energy and 10 times more money to accomplish than anyone thinks. So most startups die of not too much money, they die of too little money. They die of undercapitalization. It's just because humans as a whole tend to underestimate how much time and effort things will take because it's hard for us unless we have a checklist or a way of forcing ourselves to plan out something from start to finish. It's hard for us to think through every little minute detail of what something is actually going to entail. So a good example from my personal life is, so I run Home Love Construction with my family and we do remodeling. So we'll take, say, a kitchen or a bathroom or do a room addition on a house, and there are certain steps that have to go in order and have to be done correctly to completion before the next step can start. And there's often inspections layered into that where the county has to come in and say, yes, you did this correctly, you can proceed on to the next step and we'll sign off that it's been done correctly. So with that, I do a lot of the estimating. It's myself and we have another estimator or designer who go through and basically plan out projects and tell a client, look, this is your budget for the project. This is for us to have us do it. It's gonna cost this much because it's gonna go through these steps. So what we've had to implement, because I chronically, and all of us, chronically underestimate how long it's gonna take to do something, we had to have cost measures set in place to where we basically figure out how much of something has to be done. For example, how many sheets of drywall have to be put up, or how many square feet of tile have to be removed and then replaced. And we put those into a sheet that tells us exactly how long it should take based on industry standards, and then we have to hold our employees accountable. And then, sometimes there's weird circumstances that we have to take into account. But we had to put that system, and it's a huge, literally like an 800-line spreadsheet that we have to go every single line for every single job so that we're sure that we plan something all the way to the end. And I'll tell you, since implementing, and this is actually a spreadsheet that we purchased from another contractor by the name of Jason Avery. I would highly encourage you to look up Jason Avery. You can find him on any social media at either just search in his name, Jason Avery, or Avery, I think on most social media, he's Avery Construction or Avery Home Remodeling. This dude is a ninja. Expect to hear that name more, both from me and just in general in the future, because this dude is great at planning things to the end. So we paid Jason for giving us this spreadsheet that he had already created. We adjusted a couple things, and then we also paid him to train us how to use it from start to finish so that we understood how to use every line in it. And what it's done is it's given us the ability to plan out every project in minute detail from start to finish and get us to the point to where we're taking into consideration every possible thing that could happen. What could happen in the electric, what could happen in the plumbing, what could happen in the HVAC, what's in the punch-out budget. And so having all of that planned out has, on average, and I need to do these numbers, but on average, it's increased our profitability 10 to 15% per job. If you figure, say for example, a small construction company like ours might do 1 to 2 million a year. Let's take the smaller number, 1 million. What is 10% of $1 million? That's 100 G's. So that in itself is like, oh my God, you paid somebody $500 for 2 hours of their time to train you on how to use something, and it's gonna make you 100 grand. That's a huge return. But that's a different conversation, the conversation of coaching. The important thing for this video is that planning things to the end has a massive, massive payoff. And I want to give an example from the chapter that Robert Greene explains. There's a story, and I don't know if it's real, but it's essentially a fable. But it's of this king who's walking through his kingdom. He's in a bazaar or something, and he's walking, seeing merchants and stuff like that, and just kind of going out and about and seeing what's up in the town. And so he comes to this gathering around this guy who's yelling out 100 dinar for the best advice of your life. And so the king walks up and says, "Sir, what is this advice? If I pay you 100 dinar, what are you going to give me?" And so he says, "Dear king, order the sum to be given to me and I shall reveal it to you." And so he says, "Okay, all right, 100 dinar, I'm a king, it's no big deal." Pays him $100 or 100 dinar, whatever that is. And the guy tells him, "Ensure that you know how something will end before you set it in motion." And the king said, and so the king obviously has all his courtiers around him, and they're all like, "Oh, everybody knows that, dude. You just got ripped off, king. Like, get your money back from this guy." And the king says, No, hold on. What he said is something that everyone knows. It's true. Everyone knows that you should have the end in mind when you start something. It's one of Stephen Covey's 7 habits. Maybe the king read that 7 habits. Just kidding. And so he's like, everybody knows this, but it is extremely important to remember this because everybody forgets it. Although everyone knows it, I've seen all of you in my court start things that you didn't plan out to the end, and it goes sour, and you wind up spending some of the king or the court's money on shit that doesn't pan out. So you all are guilty of not remembering to do this, and I find it's very important. So I'm going to have this inscribed everywhere I can as a reminder to all of us in our court to begin with the end in mind and to plan all the way to the finish. So he does. He has it inscribed on all of his plates that he eats off of. He has it, put on the walls in like gold inscription and stuff like that, and it's just everywhere, all over his kingdom. It's, that text, and it was probably shorter in runes or something like that, but basically, do not begin a venture without knowing how it will end. And so, probably 5 or 10 years down the line, there's some people, as is always with kingly affairs, some people are not so happy with the king. And so they hatch a plot to kill him. And the king at the time, I guess, did a lot of bloodletting. And so the people who were in the conspiracy to kill the king got together with his surgeon, who was going to do his bloodletting for the day. And they were trying to convince him to stab him with a poison, like lance or whatever scalpel they used to cut him open to do the bloodletting. And so they convinced the guy, and he's like, "Okay, yeah, sure." Because I guess the surgeon had committed some crime, and the guy who would become king later on, who was the head of the conspiracy, said that he would pardon him for his woes or whatever evil things he did after he became king. So the surgeon comes in, puts down the silver basin, is about to do the king's bloodletting, and has the poison lancet or scalpel or whatever it is, and he looks down at the silver basin, and it has on the rim the inscription of, "Do not begin a venture without knowing how it will end." And so he thinks to himself, "Oh man, crap. If I kill this guy and the other guy becomes king, he can just have me killed before he has to do anything. This might not work out." And so he starts shaking and trembling. And the king sees the guy trembling and says, "Surgeon, what's going on, dude? What's wrong? Talk to me." And so the surgeon lets it all out. He lets it all fly. And he asks about the conspiracy to kill him and all that stuff. And so the king obviously has the people who were hatching the conspiracy all gathered and exiled from the kingdom or killed or punished or whatever. But more importantly, what he did is he brought together all of his courtiers, and somebody's getting excited down there playing some rock music. He brings together all of his courtiers to one place and shows them and explains what happened and basically chides them and gives them a slap on the wrist for saying, "Hey, you remember how you laughed at that guy for giving me that advice for 100 dinar? Has it not now turned out to be the most valuable advice? If I was killed and I was no longer king, all of you would be without positions in my court. In fact, you all probably would be dead. So is that man's 100 dinar advice not the most valuable advice this court has ever received?" And I love that story. It's just so illustrative of the fact that planning things out to the end is just a valuable endeavor no matter what you're doing. It's one of these laws that is just so universal that it really can get lost in the shuffle. And so I think I talked about this a couple laws back, but people, when they hear things like plan something all the way to the end, they tend to just gloss it out. They tend to just go, "I know that already. Tell me something new. Tell me something I don't know." But yo, listen to me right now. The key is to remember the things that you already know, but you're not doing them. The key, what these laws should be doing is they should be giving you poignant reminders. I hope I'm giving you poignant, really tangible reminders of things that you probably already know, but just aren't doing. You have to do these things if you're gonna be successful and if you're gonna become a person of power, so to speak. And you know, I was posting on my Instagram yesterday, and by the way, if you're not already, follow me on Instagram, @TampaBrad. A lot of value going on there, a lot of value being given. But I was posting about this book and I was like, it probably sounds very archaic to say that, you know, become a person of power in the year 2020. It's almost New Year's Eve. We're in 2019, about to be 2020. And it probably sounds outdated and it's not relevant to you, right? Wrong. No, that's not right at all. Power is something that's universal. Power means that you are aligned with universal principles and you're using them in a way that brings yourself to another level of effectiveness. Most people just won't take the time to try to work on their habits. And if you do that and you take the time to become a person of power, so to speak, it will reap you massive, massive benefits. And the benefits sneak up on you. You think like, oh, are the benefits gonna be I'm in my garage here, I'm looking at a Ferrari. Are the benefits gonna be a Ferrari, or, you know, am I gonna get a Ferrari next week? No, but you might get a Ferrari in 5 years if you do these things over and over and over again. So I look forward to showing you my Ferrari in 5 years after doing these things over and over and over again, because I'll be honest, I'm very early in my own journey and I wanna be 100% open about that. I'm not in a place of huge financial abundance yet, but the tables I can see are turning as I use these laws and as I keep creating these videos. You know, if you think, you know, so obviously, yes, I want you to succeed and I want you to win, but the reason I'm doing these videos is not for you, it's for me. This is completely selfish what I'm doing here. Me rambling on is to remind myself, yo dude, plan out the shit that you do, because I struggle with this. I don't plan things out appropriately and then things go south and blow up in my face. So this is a reminder to me to not start things without having the end in mind. And you know, there's a reason I'm about to go on vacation. I packed the 7 habits of highly effective people in there. That's one of the habits, is you have to begin with the end in mind. Stephen Covey is huge on that. I think it's habit number 3. So that said, I hope you're getting a lot of value out of these. Again, if you have not, follow me on Instagram @TampaBrad on there. And then definitely, you know, you've got to be subscribed to the channel. If you're not subscribed and you don't hit the bell next to it, you're not going to get notified about when I'm dropping new vids, just because there's too much going on in the YouTube stream of stuff. So you got to be subscribed and you got to hit the bell as well if you want to see my new stuff. So that said, I appreciate your attention. I will see you in the next vid. Thank you for watching. Law number 30 is coming up quick. We're almost through these 48 laws of power. I'll see you soon. Peace.